There's a button inside Search Console called Validate Fix, and most people just click it to log that a fix is done. John Mueller described what it actually triggers on the Search Off the Record podcast on July 16th. He said Google samples a handful of the flagged pages first, checks whether that sample comes back clean, and only then recrawls the rest of the batch on a faster track. And that mechanic really changes when the button is worth clicking at all. Now, the sample is the entire hinge here. Google checks a few flagged pages against your fix, and if that check comes back clean, then the rest of the affected batch gets recrawled on a faster track than it otherwise would. If the sample does not confirm the fix, nothing speeds up. The full benefit of Validate Fix lives inside that one gate, sample checked clean, and everything downstream depends on it. Before you ever open Validate Fix, Search Console is already telling you something useful. The page indexing report lists an affected URL count for every issue it flags right there in the table. No extra click required. And that count is exactly the number the sampling mechanic cares about because it tells you whether you're looking at one page or a few thousand. Google's own help documentation on the page indexing report describes that count directly. So independent of anything Mueller said on the podcast. Now, here's where it forks. Server or CDN misconfiguration touching thousands of pages gives the sample something real to check. So one root cause, many affected URLs, and a clean sample actually tells Google something true about the whole batch. A single page fixed by hand gives the sample nothing to check against. There's no batch behind it, so there's no shortcut to earn, and Validate Fix runs its normal course for no benefit. Validate Fix and request indexing look like two buttons doing the same job. So logging a fix and asking Google to come back faster, but they actually answer different questions underneath. Validate Fix asks whether a batch-wide sample confirms a systemic fix. Request indexing just asks Google to recrawl one URL directly with no sample involved. So route a single page fix through Validate Fix, and you're basically waiting on a mechanic built for a scope you don't have. In terms of what to actually do before you click either button, run two questions against the page indexing report. First, does this fix cover a class of URLs sharing one root cause, or is it just a single page? And second, does that affected URL count clearly outnumber the handful of pages the sample itself checks? If both answers point to a real batch, then Validate Fix is worth clicking. And if you're looking at one URL, skip it and send that page through request indexing instead, because there's nothing there for a sample to check. That's the two-question rule: batch systemic fixes through Validate Fix, and single page fixes through request indexing. The full mechanic with Mueller's explanation and the report walkthrough lives on my website. I'd like to know which of your currently open Validate Fixes are actually single page fixes that would have moved faster through request indexing instead.